an intelligent question, given your challenge to us all.
Yes, sir.
So let's. So here's one that occurred to me. So a lot of what you say is understandably critical of the way doctors are. You know, the way they worship technology and objectivity and all of that. And a theory could be put forth that it's driven by the doctor's own grandiosity, that they are this way, and that the training of doctors is the way that it is. But it seems like a case could also be made that doctors are this way because patients want them to be this way. It's just kind of a chicken and egg type question, right? So are doctors responding to what patients want and need in the way of all of this technology and objectivity, right? Or is it somehow being imposed on patients from above? I understand, of course, that this could change, that over time patients could come to want more of the comforting that you've spoken of, and in an ideal world, then doctors would change accordingly. But I wanted you to address the main chicken and egg type question that I'm asking.
Yeah, it's a good question. Certainly there is a folie à deux that goes on in a lot of these encounters. But you got to realize that both parties are playing a role here. Like sometimes we're playing a role and we don't realize it. In fact, what I just read, with students role-playing doctors and patients, they got very clear they were playing a role. And if you understand that you're playing a role, you might want to question that. And I mean, any role you play. And that's coming about. Patients ask sometimes, how can I get more personal contact with my physician? And my advice is, ask the physician, how are you doing? How are you? What's it like watching people die right and left? Things like that. And boy, they're anxious to talk about it. Andy has been attending our Schwartz Center rounds at the hospital, which have been going on a couple months now. These rounds are a practice that's spreading through the country in hundreds of hospitals now that are intended to get practitioners to emote, to express what's going on with them. I write quite a lot about this question in the book. If you're working around suffering for a career, you're wading hip deep in it every day for decades. And you're supposed to maintain an objective appearance. You're supposed to look detached and clinical. Well, do you get tired of holding that pose? You forget it's a pose after decades, but the fact that doctors, in particular doctors' health statistics are dismal says that there's something wrong with the way we're carrying ourselves. So thanks, Andy. Yeah, Lou?
Yeah, people our age and younger, the baby boomer generation, are going to be moving into needing greater and greater care, making more demands on the medical system than ever, and society in general. And I just was wondering, trying to take a positive view, how do you see the medical and social institutions responding to that in a way that can accommodate what you're trying to suggest?
There's a phrase in the movies sometimes, we have to take matters into our own hands. We can't be passive consumers. I detest that phrase. I was talking earlier about medical care being a business transaction these days. The most popular terminology for patients and doctors now is consumers and providers of this commodity called healthcare. I just get furious when I hear that, because it makes the consumer a passive receptacle of the product.
That's right.
And whether you're old or young or whatever you're going through, you have to ask yourself, well, what do I want? What am I willing to put up with? What am I not willing to put up with? Part of aging is, as everybody here probably knows, deterioration. There's no getting around it. We're getting better in medical technology extending lives, but if I'm feeling pretty rotten at 90, how do you think I'm going to feel at 120 or 150? We're just extending suffering, really. And so we have to come to some acceptance of what's going on with aging. Just know that we have to live with this. It comes up in our cancer support group because people are surviving for surprisingly long times, and they're surviving into old age. And very often our meetings aren't about cancer as much as kvetching about constipation. And the feeling is, hey, this is what you aim for. We aim to get into old age. But we really have to talk about it and not just accept what's handed to us, because if you leave it up to the corporations, they're going to put all kinds of appliances on you and drugs and so on, and it's not going to make you feel any better. Yes, sir?
Thinking about your friend Richard, who was lying there for 14 hours and no one asked him how he was inside. Should doctors prepare for thinking about the nature of what does that mean? Who is that that's inside? Who is that? Or what is the nature of consciousness? Or how does a doctor prepare to do that?
The only way I've found so far is to get sick yourself. I entered this business exactly 50 years ago, and I was given a very progressive course in medical humanities then. And by the time I hit the wards, it didn't mean boo, because I wanted to do spinal taps, and that's the way medical students still are, doing these procedures is very glamorous. And yet, over the years, I've been doing cancer support groups for 35 some years now. And over that time, there have been 7 or 8 physicians who have been members of the cancer support group because they themselves had cancer. And every one of them took me aside at some point and said some version of, I had no idea what it was like to be a patient. Mm-hmm. And I don't wish cancer on anybody, but getting sick sure drives the point home. One reason I work in this field is because I want to get the point without getting sick. So I'm not sure how to bring this into medical education, but we're a pretty smart species, smart enough to do ourselves in, and we'll figure out a way to change things. Nothing's going to ever stay the same. And I think things will change when we demand it. And that's why I wanted to write the book. So, yeah, Jim.